For decades, a big merger or acquisition was pretty much just a game of numbers. It was all about the financials, the synergies, the bottom line. Well, that game has completely changed. Today, deal making is more like a high stakes gauntlet. And the biggest obstacles? They're not on a spreadsheet anymore, they're in the halls of government. And the shift is it's stark. We've gone from a world where you just had to focus on financial fit to this new, complex reality where regulatory approval and geopolitical strategy are now the main drivers. And, more often than not, the potential deal breakers. It's a fundamental rewiring of how these massive deals actually get done. And look, this isn't just a passing trend. This is the new landscape. As Dan Baumstick from Clifford Chance puts it, national political agendas are now deeply tangled up in deal-making. And that's setting the stage for a way more complex, way more unpredictable environment. Two forces, in particular, are really at the heart of this whole transformation. So, first up, artificial intelligence. AI is becoming absolutely indispensable in the M&A world. It's acting as this powerful catalyst for getting deals done faster. But, and this is the fascinating part, it's also a huge source of brand new risks that can make the whole thing fall apart. The scale of adoption here is just staggering. A Deloitte study found that by 2025, 97%, that's basically everyone, was using AI to support their due diligence. So this isn't some niche tool, it's the new standard. But the real question is, why? Why is it everywhere? Well, because AI is just a massive accelerator. It can tear through thousands of legal documents in a few hours, a job that would take a whole team of lawyers weeks to do. It's helping to pinpoint targets, analyze cultural fit, and even map out the post-merger integration. It's all about getting deeper insights way faster. But of course, there's a dark side to all this efficiency. All that speed introduces this whole new layer of risk. You see, AI models can hallucinate, which is a nice way of saying they just make stuff up. In one case, a firm discovered a $1.5 million tax liability after the deal closed that its AI had confidently and completely incorrectly cleared. This creates huge duty of care challenges for corporate boards. If you rely on a flawed AI, are you really making a well-informed decision? Plus, these systems can be total black boxes, making it impossible to explain their logic to regulators.
And this is not just some theoretical problem. We have decades of legal precedent here, like the landmark Smith v. Van Gorkum case, that show boards can be held personally liable for making poorly informed decisions. So relying on an imperfect AI without the right human oversight, that puts them directly in the legal crosshairs.
And all of this brings us to the second major force, this rising global wall of regulation. Something that used to be a final compliance checkbox is now a central and often deal-breaking strategic hurdle that you have to plan for from day one. Now, this isn't just random red tape. It's a very deliberate strategy. Governments, especially in the US and Europe, are really worried about losing control of key technologies. It's this idea of tech sovereignty. So they're using regulation to protect what they see as their national assets, and frankly, to compete on the global stage. The first layer of this wall is what's called foreign direct investment, or FDI screening. This is where a government gets to vet a deal for any potential national security risks. And now, the EU is making this mandatory across all 27 member states, which creates a much more coordinated and tough review process for any investor from outside the EU. Next up, we've got the Foreign Subsidies Regulation, or FSR. This one is a really big deal. It's aimed squarely at buyers who get financial backing from foreign governments. It adds a whole new layer of disclosure and scrutiny, all in an effort to level the playing field for European companies. And regulators are also getting much more forward-looking. They're cracking down hard on what they call killer acquisitions. This is when a tech giant buys up some tiny, innovative startup, not for its current business, but just to snuff out a potential rival before it can grow. Authorities are now stepping in to protect future innovation, even if the deal itself looks tiny on paper. So what you end up with is this incredibly complex web of gatekeepers. You've got the EU Commission looking at subsidies, US bodies like CFIUS focused on national security, and then individual national authorities who can just call in and review any deal they think is sensitive. And on top of all that, you still have the classic antitrust agencies watching for market dominance. It's an absolute minefield. Yeah, and this quote here from Melina Robotham at Clifford Chance just captures the motivation perfectly. This isn't about some abstract legal principle, it's about raw economic competition. European nations are using these powers to protect their national gems in the global tech race against the US and China. Okay, so with this new reality of AI risk and these massive regulatory walls, how do you actually get a deal done? The old playbook, it's obsolete. Success today requires a completely new, multidisciplinary approach. This is what the modern dealmaker's playbook looks like. Political risk analysis isn't an afterthought anymore. It's step one. You're using AI not just for the financials, but to screen for regulatory and compliance red flags across dozens of countries. You're building buffers for time and risk right into the legal agreements. And you know what? Sometimes you might even decide to skip a full acquisition and go for a partnership or joint venture just to avoid the whole regulatory gauntlet. So in practice, this means deal lawyers are getting incredibly sophisticated. They're writing information covenants to guarantee they'll get the data they need for filings. They're including cooperation clauses that legally force everyone to work together on submissions. And, crucially, they're negotiating upfront exactly who takes the financial hit if a regulator blocks the deal. It's all about building a structure that can actually withstand all this uncertainty. And Mike McIsaac from Baker Tilly, Canada, he really sums it up perfectly. The winners in this new era, they're going to be the ones who blend technology with strategy. They use AI to see the risks coming, and then they proactively build strategies to navigate around them instead of just reacting when a problem pops up. So where does this all leave us? Well, the world of M&A has been fundamentally and I'd say permanently reshaped. The skills and the strategies that define success for the last 50 years, they just aren't enough anymore. Which brings us to the single most important takeaway. Navigating regulators isn't something you do at the end of the process anymore. It is the process. It has to be designed into the very architecture of a deal, right from the very first conversation. It influences everything from the valuation to the legal structure. And that leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. When national security, technological dominance, and economic competition are the primary lenses that major deals are viewed through, have we moved beyond pure business? Is every major cross-border tech deal now fundamentally a geopolitical act? That's a question every leader and every dealmaker is going to have to confront.